Sometimes things just fall naturally into your lap as ordered of the gods, and it just kind of falls into your lap. And you know, um, people have been running around. The founding fathers had slaves. The founding fathers had slaves, and I kept telling them, no, they had indentured servants. Slaves are never set free. Slaves are always slaves. If I die and I have a slave, that slave is passed on to my heirs or it's sold to someone else. You are never free if you're a slave. Okay? That's why the Emancipation Proclamation had to happen, is because real slaves could not be set free other than an act of Congress or whatever. Okay? Indentured servants, by contrast, are set free on a multitude of reasons. Death by their master. If the master dies, they're set free. If they pay their debt, if they pay their debt to society, they're set free. If they work out a bargain of some kind, they're set free. Okay, but real slaves are never set free, and that's the distinction that people don't get, and they don't want to hear it. Number one, they don't want to hear it. Founders had slaves, and by God, that's it. Well, no, that's not it, because a slave is never set free. When George Washington died, what happened to his slaves? Oh, they all got set free. When Jefferson died, what happened to his slaves? Oh, they all got set free. In fact, Jefferson's supposed slaves used to go on trips to Europe with his wife. Does that sound like a slave to you? Does that sound like what you saw in the movie Roots? Does it? No, it doesn't, does it? Okay, real slaves don't go on trips to Europe. Real slaves are in chains, rags, and eating the scraps off the table. Okay, these people were not... In fact, there used to be a painting in Washington, D.C., but I noticed somebody took it down. But there used to be a painting in Washington, D.C. that had George Washington and his supposed slave wearing a top hat and tails. A three-piece suit, folks. The equivalent of what today would be an Armani suit. Okay, something very expensive, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, that top hat and tails that black man was wearing was a day's wage, easily, if not more. But yet, a black man was wearing it in a painting with George Washington. Okay, well, that painting had to come down because, by God, it doesn't fit our narrative that George Washington was an evil slave owner. So we had to take that painting down. You can't find it in Washington, D.C. today. I looked. It ain't there. It ain't there. You can't find it. I couldn't find it online either. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing how that works? Why? Because they push the narrative that the Founding Fathers were evil. They have to do that because they want you to hate America. And you can't hate America if the Founding Fathers are not slave owners, right? So we got to get you to hate the Founding Fathers, and the best way to do that is to convince you that they're slave owners. Now, I just happened to get this dropped in my lap. This guy is talking about the predecessor to the Constitution of the United States, which was called the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation had several presidents before President George Washington. Okay? It's kind of like the predecessor to the Constitution. But I stopped it right here because I want you to hear what this man says. Because I'm sick and tired of people saying that these Founding Fathers were slave owners. I'm sick of it. So I want you to hear what this man says. Now let's go. Let's hear it. Let's see what he says here.
Boudinot was also noteworthy for his era of advocating for the rights of both Native Americans and black people, as well as sponsoring various youth among these groups so that they could receive an education.
What? Advocating for the rights of who? Advocating for the rights of who? Advocating for the rights of who? Let's hear that again. I want to hear that again. Let's hear that again.
Boudinot was also noteworthy for his era of advocating for the rights of both Native Americans and black people, as well as sponsoring various youth among these groups so that they could receive an education.
Okay, so not only were they not slave owners, but they wanted to give black youth a goddamn education. They wanted to get them an education. Take your goddamn slavery and shove it up your motherfucking ass. I am so sick of you fuckers that hate this country and hate the Founding Fathers. I am sick of you. I'm sick up to here. And when you actually do some research on the Constitution of the United States, what do you find? You find that the Constitution is actually written so that it abolishes slavery. It's actually written that way. It's written to abolish slavery. Thomas Jefferson said slavery was abhorrent. Does anybody in the audience know what the word abhorrent means? Does anybody know? Anybody? Look it up. Look it up in a dictionary. Because you obviously don't know what it means. Let's hear this one more time. I got to hear this one more time. Because I am so sick. I am so sick of you assholes that hate this country and hate the Founding Fathers. I'm sick of you.
Boudinot was also noteworthy for his era of advocating for the rights of both Native Americans and black people, as well as sponsoring various youth among these groups so that they could receive an education. Number 3.
All right. Now, unless you're a fucking dumbass, you understood what that man said, right? Okay, so this shit that the Founding Fathers had slaves is just that. It's bullshit. Now, that's not to say that after the Founding Fathers died, that the South started getting slaves and started purchasing slaves and started the whole slavery movement shit. That's not to say that it didn't happen. It's not to say that the South didn't have slaves. But the Founding Fathers did not. The Founding Fathers had indentured servants, and as you just heard, if you got ears to hear and eyes to see, you just heard that they were actually trying to give these people an education. And that they advocated for the rights of Native Americans and black folk. Now, if you have two brain cells to rub together, you understand this. Otherwise, you're an idiot. Right? You just are. You're an idiot. Or you have an agenda. And the agenda is to get people to hate this country and by extension to hate the Founding Fathers of this great nation. Say it with me, class. The Founding Fathers did not have slaves. They had indentured servants. And here we see where even the predecessors to the Constitution were giving black folk an education. So take your slavery and shove it right up your motherfucking ass. Now, that's not to say that after all the founders had passed away, which was like, I don't know, late 1700s, early 1800s, that slavery didn't come to be in this country. It did, much to our discredit. However, that's not to say that the Founding Fathers had slaves, because they did not. They did not. Hell, there's even a rumor that Jefferson married and had sex with a black woman and might have even had children by her. But we can't bring that up. Oh, no, because we got to paint Jefferson as a racist. We got to paint Washington as a racist. We got to paint all these people as a racist. Right now, as I speak, they're wanting to blow up Mount Rushmore, folks. Right now, as I speak, they're wanting to blow up Mount Rushmore. Why? Because this lie that's perpetrated by the media, hello, major media, and by certain groups, that the Founding Fathers were slave owners. And these dunderheads, without doing any fucking research whatsoever, they want to believe it. They want to believe that stuff. And it's not true. It's never been true. It never will be true. It's one thing to disagree with the Founding Fathers on certain principles. It's quite another to accuse them of flat-out slavery when they absolutely hated it. They absolutely hated it. What was, I think it wasn't it, I think it was Hamilton mentioned something about, you can't, the enslavement of a man is evil or something, or maybe even against the Bible. You got to understand, a lot of people read the Bible back then. So, I don't know, man. I just, but I get so furious, I get so incensed when these flat-out liars try to accuse the greatest men that sacrificed everything to make this country what it is, and to false accuse them of being slave owners and shit. They had indentured servants. Now, also, too, I want to bring up before I do anything else, there is a rumor going around that Jefferson either beat one of his servants or he had one of his workers beat. That is a flat-out lie. When I went to a library and trying to find real proof on it, it did not exist. That is a flat-out lie being circulated on the internet. It is not true. Okay? So if you run into that story, understand that I went to an actual physical library and there was no way I could corroborate that story whatsoever. None of the people under Jefferson's charge were beaten. Period. Is that clear? Because there's a rumor floating around the internet, a story, if you will, that supposedly Jefferson or one of his workers beat a black man or a black woman. That is not true. I could not find any corroboration in an actual library for that at all. Zero. Okay, so let's get that out of the way, because I know that's out there. I've seen it myself. I've seen that story myself. So I got off my keister. I went to an actual library. Oops, sorry, didn't happen. It did not happen. Okay, but see, that's what I'm saying. These people hate the Founding Fathers. They hate this country. Okay, and they want to get you to hate this country and to hate the Founding Fathers. Okay, and that's why they put this filth out on the internet, disparaging the greatest nation on earth. And I'm so sick of it, I want to spit. All right? So please don't fall into that trap. Okay? Don't let anyone deceive you, man. Don't let anyone deceive you. These men that founded this nation sacrificed everything. They sacrificed their fortunes. They even sacrificed their lives in many cases. Did you know that just founding the United States of America was death by hanging? Did you know that? Did you know that? Yeah. Just founding the United States of America was punishable by hanging. And you know what? Washington, Jefferson, Adams, all them cats, they did it anyway. They did it anyway. Why? Because what they believed in was greater than the sum of their parts. They had to prove themselves to the greater good. Okay? You understand? But I'm so sick of the Founding Fathers were slave owners. The Founding Fathers... What did you just hear this man say? Let's hear it again, folks. I want to hear this shit again, okay? I want this to sink into your damn mind. Because I'm so sick of this crap. It makes me want to vomit.
Also noteworthy for his era of advocating for the rights of both Native Americans and black people, as well as sponsoring various youth among these groups so that they could receive an education.
Okay? Have I finally put this shit to bed? I hope. I hope I have. I hope I have. Because obviously, if they're trying to give them a damn education, they're not slaves. Hello? Hello? Obviously, if they're trying to give them an education and they're trying to advocate for rights, then they're not slaves, are they? Because slaves don't get no rights, dumbass. And slaves sure as hell ain't going to be given no education. I'm so sick of this crap. I'm so sick of it. I can't stand it. I'm so sick of it. And like I said, after the founders were gone, yes, there was slavery in this country, early 1800s or whatever. I'm not saying that slavery didn't happen. I'm not saying but did the Founding Fathers have anything to do with it? No. No, they did not. Just the opposite. And anybody that's willing to get off their ass and go to an actual library can pull books off the shelf talking about where Jefferson said it was abhorrent, where Washington said he hated it, where Adams said he despised it, Hamilton spoke out against it. They all spoke out against slavery. Every goddamn one of them. All of the Founding Fathers spoke out against slavery. Every one of them. But you won't find one word of it on the internet, I bet. Huh? Isn't that amazing how that works? You won't find one word about it on the internet. I was lucky to find this. I was damn lucky to find it. I absolutely believe that God's put this video in my lap so that I could show you what a fool you are if you're sitting there thinking the Founding Fathers owned slaves. Slaves are never set free. They're passed on to the relatives. But what happened to Washington's slaves, supposed slaves? Oh, they all got set free after his death, didn't they? Yeah. Jefferson was the same way. See, if the owner dies, their debt to society is gone. That's the end of it. They're free people after that. Once your debt is paid, you're free. You're a free person. And let me point out something else, too, that nobody else wants to talk about. The first slaves weren't black. They were Irishmen. They were white folk. Nobody wants to talk about that, though. Because, see, the Irish had to pay their way over here, too. Well, guess what happened? Oh, they were slave, too. Supposed slaves, you call it. I call it indentured servant because they had to pay a debt. But, see, nobody wants to mention the Irish, do they? No, they don't want to mention that. And what about the Chinese? The Chinese worked the railroads. And what about the Native Americans? See, nobody wants to bring any of this shit up. They don't want to bring this shit up because they want to focus on the blacks because they want to get you to hate America. They want you to hate the Founding Fathers and hate this country. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't let them mess with your head. Okay? Don't let them do that. All right, that's pretty much it for me. But I wanted, this got dropped in my lap. And so obviously I had to speak out because I'm sick and tired of the lies perpetrated by certain groups in this country that hate this country and hate the Founding Fathers. And so now you've heard it out of an actual source, okay, besides me. All right? Because everybody, oh, that Von Helden, he's crazy. That Von Helden is crazy. Well, am I crazy now? No, obviously not. All right. So, anyways, that's going to do it for me. Y'all have a pleasant day and a better tomorrow. Bye.